27-inch 4K 240Hz OLED panels have ruined me. I'm not joking, guys. I guarantee that if you saw them in person, you'd feel exactly the same way. It's no wonder then that the new Alienware AW2725Q is no different, except for the price, and not in a bad way. But before we go forward with the price, we need to go back to why OLEDs have changed everything. The adoption of OLED panels by you guys has been one of the most insane shifts in tech that I've seen in a long while, especially for display technology. 27-inch OLEDs have had the biggest uptick, but mainly for the 1440p panels, and that's kind of dominated the space. While we've shown other 27-inch 4K 240Hz QD OLED panels like the ROG Swift PG27 UCDM and the MSI MPG272URX, the main bit of feedback that I've seen from you guys is these panels don't really exist and you can't actually buy them. Is the Alienware AW2725Q any different? Let's jump forward to the price. The Alienware AW2725Q is going for around about $899 USD at the time of filming this video. That's around $200 US cheaper than both the ROG and MSI panels for essentially the exact same panel. Except that it's kind of not the same because it's cheaper. However, the AW2725Q features the same 26.5-inch 3840 by 2160 Samsung QD OLED panel that both the MSI and ROG panels use, with a refresh rate of 240 Hz, a peak brightness of over 1000 nits, and an HDR brightness of around about 450 nits. The AW2725Q also has a response time of 0.03 milliseconds gray to gray. It's fully G-Sync and FreeSync compatible as well. It has the same Samsung 10-bit panel that supports 99% of the DCI-P3 color space and 145% of the sRGB color space, and because it's the same Samsung panel, it has a 1.5 million to 1 contrast ratio and pretty decent HDR. The difference is that the Alienware panel has a Dolby Vision certification. Okay, so what makes this different then? Well, the AW2725Q has standard 100mm VESA mounting on the rear, so you can use an existing solution for mounting if you don't want to use the included stand. But if you did want to use the included stand, then it's fully height, tilt, swivel, and rotation adjustable. That sounds about the same though, right? Well, as far as connectivity is concerned, it features two HDMI 2.1 ports, a single DisplayPort 1.4 port with DisplayStream compression, a USB-B 5GB uplink port, 3 USB 5GB Type-A ports, and a USB Type-C port, which is also 5GB, but it's got 15-watt PD charging. It doesn't have DisplayPort Alt or a KVM, and I'll explain why shortly. So that's what's different. The design of the AW2725Q is different too, but in a good way. It's very premium and the whole design language is elegant. Dell, the parent company of Alienware, is calling it the AW30 design language. It's clean and minimal and almost not gamery at all, except for that little alien on the rear and the little power light down here, both of which have RGB control. I spoke about the monitor stands adjustment before, but the design of this monitor stand is, well, it's perfect. Let me explain. The footprint is tiny, it's very solid, and the cable management on it, with it passing through the stand, is so simple, but it's genius. Alienware's done this before, but this is what refinement looks like. Other monitor vendors need to take note. This is how you do it properly. This is how you make a monitor stand. We don't need something with 3 massive legs that looks like an alien from War of the Worlds. Look, Alienware. It's quite literally called Alienware, and it doesn't even look like an alien. And that's a terrible joke. For gaming, the Alienware AW2725Q is awesome. Much like the MSI and ROG panels, the performance is impressive. It's quite literally the same experience, except the Alienware panel is $200 US cheaper. I've said this before, but it's really hard to translate all of this into video, but this panel visually, because of the pixel density, is insanely good. There's almost nothing else like it, except the MSI and ROG panels. Gaming feels responsive, and even though it's only a 27-inch panel, the experience is just different to anything else. This can be said for all of these 27-inch 4K 240Hz QD OLED panels. They're all around just awesome for gaming. Sometimes I feel like it makes me better at games, probably just a placebo, but the Alienware AW2725Q feels extremely snappy and it makes me feel like a god. It's almost like it's giving me an advantage. Keep in mind that when I'm recording for these videos and I'm sitting here gaming, I'm at a stupid angle, the monitor's at a stupid angle, and it's all so you guys can see it. It's not for my benefit at all. And most of the time, when I'm doing this, I'm playing with no sound too, so I can't even hear what's going on. The out-of-the-box calibration is spot on. I didn't need to adjust any settings on the panel at all. The colors are excellent and the HDR experience is good too. Both gaming and content consumption is great, and I'll go as far as saying that if you wanted to use this for content creation, you're not going to have any issues with the Alienware AW2725Q at all. So what's the catch? Surprisingly, there isn't one. To be very honest with you guys, after using lots of OLEDs and having kind of a benchmark with my eyes that I've developed over using these panels over the last few years, you start to notice some things. First of all, I don't care what you say. OLED, WOLED, QD OLED, they're all good. I don't care about the technical details because most people who say WOLED is better or QD OLED is better, they probably spent money on one and decided that that's the best. Or they've seen some specs on paper and decide that bigger number is better or darker black is better. To those kind of people, I'm going to be brutal here. I don't care. And people looking at OLED displays of all types also shouldn't care either. I could put different types of OLEDs in front of those people and not tell them what technology any of the panels are using, and I can bet you that they wouldn't be able to tell me what they are. They'll say that they all look good, and that's the deal with OLEDs. I've said this before, they all look good. As I said in the intro, these 27-inch 4K 240Hz QD OLEDs have ruined me. It's given me an expectation of what good looks like, and the Alienware AW2725Q simply looks good. The best thing about all of these new 27-inch 4K 240Hz QD OLEDs is it feels like you're seeing something brand new for the first time again. The pixel density really changes everything. I say this time and time again, but the quality of a display just does not translate to video. So what makes the Alienware AW2725Q different to the other 27-inch 4K 240Hz QD OLEDs out there on the market? Or should I say, on the market and not available? Well, while the Alienware AW2725Q does use the same Samsung QD OLED panel that all the other monitors in this segment are using, you are losing a few features here. I guess this also falls into who this monitor is for. Firstly, there's no KVM. If you don't want or need a KVM, that's fine. It also doesn't have DisplayPort 2.1, which is also fine because the spec for DisplayPort 1.4 does support 4K 240Hz anyway. It also doesn't support DisplayPort Alt on the USB Type-C port, which Alienware never does anyway. That same USB Type-C port only has 15-watt PD charging, but at the same time, it makes sense because of the positioning of the port, and it doesn't support DisplayPort Alt, so it doesn't really need to support anything higher than that. What you're gaining is a best-in-class monitor stand, which you might not care about. It's got a clean design with no unnecessary RGB. You're getting HDMI 2.1 with eARC, which means you can connect audio devices like soundbars to your monitor. You're getting the same incredible gaming experience that you're going to get with any other 27-inch 4K 240Hz QD OLED panels out there, and you're getting all of this for $200 less than both the MSI and the ROG panels. Who is this monitor not for then? Well, if you absolutely need a KVM and DisplayPort Alt, then I'd say go for the MSI or ROG panels. If you absolutely need DisplayPort 2.1, then go for the MSI or ROG panels. But if those are things you don't need or you simply don't care about and you want to save $200, then the Alienware AW2725Q is the right choice. It's hard to argue with the saving here It's also very hard to say anything bad about the Alienware AW2725Q. It's just good.